So, you're going to a fitness expo. Get ready to rub elbows with some of the industry's top icons and see hundreds of companies frantically trying to differentiate their products from one another. But before you go, there are a few things you should remember. Firstly, fitness expos can be exhausting, so make sure to get plenty of sleep the night before.
3:42. Explain.
I can. Now that you're here, take in the sights and sounds of the expo floor. Then quickly proceed into a state of crippling depression that comes from realizing you'll never look as jacked or as perfect as half the people here. Make sure to try all the supplements you can without reading the label. The more pre-workout, the better.
But isn't all that caffeine bad for you?
Don't worry, Billy. Heart rates of less than 200 are for pussies. What are you, Billy? A little bitch? Proceed to do all the strength challenges you can find. Not for the prizes, but for the sick pump you'll get immediately afterwards prior to taking photos. Proceed to take photos for the next 8.5 minutes while you still have your pump. When meeting subscribers, make sure to out-angle everyone. By comparison, if you look like The Rock fucked a space shuttle and their cyborg offspring Terminator baby injects his biceps with dragon blood, you're doing it right. Can't get a good angle? Don't worry, simply Photoshop your photos afterwards. Right, Devin?
Hey man, you got any spare change or need a custom nutrition plan or something?
Oh, Devin, go fuck yourself. And for the ladies out there, to get that perfect photo, simply wear whatever the fuck this is. This has been a public service announcement from Vitruvian Physique. And remember, if the expo falls outside of those precious 2 months of the year when you're actually lean, stay the fuck home, bitch.
There's an energy when you hold me, when you touch me. It's so powerful, I can feel it. When you hold me, when you touch me. It's so powerful. There's an energy when you hold me, when you touch me. It's so powerful, I can feel it. When you hold me, when you touch me. It's so powerful.
Okay guys, so that was it. That was the 2015 Toronto Pro Show, Fitness Expo, whatever it's called. Why is it like 17-word name? It was a great time. I really enjoyed it, especially because it's so close to here. Me being from Toronto, it's kind of like local. There's none of that travel done, you know, when you have to go to the LA Fit Expo, Body Power, Arnold, Olympia, all this crazy stuff. And it was kind of like my home turf, the six. And I got to meet so many of you. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to do this video a little bit differently than kind of like the standard that's usually done when it comes to fitness expo videos I see here on YouTube. Usually it's just like 20 minutes of raw footage from the expo, and that's fine. But this time, to be honest, it wouldn't be that exciting because I didn't want to go to this expo and simply just to meet all these, like, you know, these bodybuilders, these athletes, because lots of times I've met them before since I've been going to this expo for like 5 years. And guys, to be honest, with no offense and no disrespect, lots of times you'll wait for like 30 minutes to meet some of these like massive IFBB pro bodybuilders, and then you talk about like nothing for like 60 seconds, and there's no personality, there's no like excitement. And yes, obviously that could be because they've been traveling for so long and maybe this is like their 500th expo and this is like their millionth fan that they've met, so they don't have as much, you know, enthusiasm. That's completely understandable. But to be honest, it kind of reminds me why Arnold was so one of a kind, because he had that personality, that charisma, that like exciting, just, you know, feeling about him when you meet him, and it was interesting, which is why he went so far and did so many things in life besides bodybuilding. Some of these guys, no offense, when you meet them, it's just like you're just talking to a brick wall. And so I didn't really want to film my vlog with like 4 hours of that. I wanted to spend a lot more time walking around the expo with my friends, enjoying ourselves, because we do this every year, like I said. And most importantly, meeting some of you guys, because obviously since me being from Toronto, there's a lot more locals. I was surprised how many people came up to me and they just said, like, you know, I'm fans of the channel, you know, I like it for, you know, you're funny, or, you know, you're informative, I've learned so much from you, I'm applying what you told me to my life to lose weight, build muscle. Some of these guys are even doing contest preps with some of my advice, and that means more to me, like 100 out of 100 times, that means more to me than, you know, waiting in line for 40 minutes to talk to, like, no offense, like, you know, Ronnie Coleman about, like, I don't know, t-shirts and like protein supplements. That's just my opinion, you know, don't get me wrong. Another thing which I kind of noticed, and this happens every year, it's always just so like preposterous to me, because once you start to understand how this, you know, the industry works and what goes into some of these companies, you really kind of just sit there from like, it's like a bird's eye view and you wonder like, what the fuck's going on? When it comes to supplements, I've talked about this in my past, in my videos, you know, my bullshit supplements video and my whole series that I'm going to be doing. And I always talk about how, like, let's be honest, as long as a company is, you know, relatively normal, relatively well known, all that matters is the price and the macros. You know, with protein powder, how much protein does it have? What's the price? What's the calories? That's pretty much it. Other than that, it's, you know, other than that, it's just marketing. Like, who's got the best sponsored athlete? Who's got the prettiest jar with the fanciest colors? And, you know, who's got, like, the best terminology, like muscle builder, X-powered dragon force, like, spewing fire out your penis. It's all just a bunch of crap at the end of the day. So when these companies are trying so hard to differentiate themselves, when it's just one after the other of this, more or less the same stuff. We were at this one company, I'm not gonna say which one in particular, it was like they had protein supplements and they had protein bars, and Jordan and I, we decided to try one. So this company had like these protein bar samples, and Jordan and I tried them, and she turns to me and she's like, you know, it tastes kind of like a Quest bar, which is kind of a compliment because Quest bars are obviously very popular, they're very tasty, you know, they have pretty good macronutrients. And then the lady working there, one of those, like, you know, those bikini girls and, you know, those ambassadors that kind of stand there to look pretty, she was like, actually, no, it's not like a Quest bar. And she just immediately, there's like all this like attitude, and she's like so offended, like, how dare you? How dare you say that their protein bar is different from our protein bar when the macronutrients, the ingredients, everything is like more or less very, very similar. She said like the most hippy dippy, like hipstery kind of like new age herbal health answer ever. It was like, this one, unlike Quest bars, is not made with like, I can't remember what it was. It was like non-fermented like alcohol sugars or something. I'm like, what the fuck does that matter? What's the macros? What's the price? You know, like, you know, I guess what's the fiber? Other than that, like, come on, I'm not gonna pay an extra like 40% for your supplement just because it's got something which, at the end of the day, is not gonna affect my physique, and I'm not gonna feel it. So don't sit there and be like, oh, you don't feel it and you don't notice it, but don't worry, it's working. Another cool thing was that part of Gymshark was actually there, and I've met Nikki and Jazzy in the past, but this time I got to meet Robin Gallant, which was awesome because, you know, you always follow these people and you always wonder, like, are they gonna be the same in real life as they are, you know, on social media? And I'm really happy to say that that was absolutely the case. She was like, you know, it was very nice. We got to talk about just random things like fitness, you know, business, just like cities in Canada, like what's it like living in Kelowna versus, you know, Toronto. And it's just really great. It's almost like a breath of, you know, it's like a sigh of relief. It's like, oh, okay. You know, I always think they're like, oh, thank God, they're not an asshole. It's like, yes! So that was actually cool. And then there was like a whole like little Gymshark team, and I know that Ben, one of the owners, the two guys who actually started Gymshark, he was there, but every time I saw him, he was just like swarmed with like people asking questions, so I never actually got a chance to talk to him, which kind of sucks, but next time, because it is awesome. Since like back in 2012 when Gymshark was one of the first companies that started this, it was interesting because like those videos with like, you know, like Jeff Seid, Lovato, Matt Ogus, and just that whole like, you know, aesthetic kind of like, I guess, you know, lifestyle or community, which is so very different to bodybuilding. That's when it kind of like, one of the reasons why it started. So it's, you know, it's kind of interesting, and it would be cool to talk to him about that. Another thing that I want to mention related to this, because it's kind of like, almost as a bodybuilding, it's kind of start to separate. There's kind of like this like lifestyle, aesthetics, YouTube, Instagram, social media kind of like side of it, and then there's a standard regular bodybuilding side of it with, you know, the big ass bodybuilders. And there was this guy who was walking by, and Jordan and I were like grabbing a bite to eat, and there was a big line forming for people to meet Nikki. And he kind of walked by and he asked us like, yo man, like, who's this for? Is she famous or something? Obviously didn't know who she was. And I said, yeah, she's like a fitness YouTuber. And he kind of looked at me like, what? And he kind of walked away and he said, you know, like, whatever floats your boat, right? He was kind of like laughing it off, and I'm like, fuck you. And I was kind of really getting that vibe that it's almost like, oh, that's not like a real, you know, person or athlete or whatever. And the real ones are upstairs, you know, in the Expo on the ground, and, you know, like the big ass IFBB pro bodybuilders with like biceps the size of my head. And I kind of think, you know what guys, I really disagree with that, because again, don't get me wrong, I used to love bodybuilding, and you know, in some ways I still do. I still watch the Olympia every year, and I just think it's very different, and I'm not as big of a fan of it as I used to be, because when it comes to guys like on YouTube and like fitness and aesthetics, and the people who actually put themselves out there and actually try to make videos, which is one of the reasons why I started doing YouTube myself, when they actually try to talk to these people, educate, motivate, have a somewhat positive impact on these people's lives, I respect and admire and try to replicate that so much more than, you know, any of this other stuff, because like, you know, I get it. Don't get me wrong, it takes years of hard work and dedication to be like an IFBB pro bodybuilder, but lots of times it's just, how's your genetics? You know, can you train for like 10 hours a day in a basement dungeon? and you know, like, can you take a lot of steroids? And that's essentially it, which doesn't appeal to me as much because you train for yourself, you compete for yourself, and it's just like, it's kind of, in my opinion, it's a little bit of a me sport, whereas like YouTube and like this whole new like aesthetic kind of uprising seems to be so focused on community and like talking to people and like, you know, putting out content, whether it be my channel, a little bit more information based, other people have like more, you know, inspirational entrepreneurship, all of this interesting stuff which people can actually use, watch on a daily basis, establish like relationships, you know, with these people where they actually care about what happens in their lives and they want to learn from them and they use them as motivation. And guys, like, I am so not used to it, but when people use the word like inspiration and like me in the same sentence, I'm like I just don't get it, and it's so foreign, and I appreciate it so much, but to be honest, I'm still kind of like, I think to myself like, I'm just a regular dude. It's funny, there was this one moment at the Expo which really kind of like, I was like a surreal moment for me. It was when someone started flipping out, like it was this girl, and she started doing that thing that girls do, like, ah! And I think the first thing to myself, I think, is, oh shit, are we in the way of someone? Is there like Steve Cook behind us? Do you want to move, or should I move? And it turns out that she came up to us and she was talking to Jordan, she was talking to myself, saying like, I watch both of your channels, like I love you guys. And I'm thinking like, what's going on? Like, I never expect to gather that kind of reaction, and it's still so crazy. I think I was more freaked out than she was. And then there was a guy who asked me to sign like his belt, and I'm thinking like, I've never been asked to sign anything. Like, I don't even know what the word autograph like means with me, and I don't know, guys, it's just ridiculous. And it really reminds me, like I always say, you know, on this channel, I always end my videos with it, and I know it sounds cliche, and I always say like, thank you guys, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I say how like I could live for 100 lifetimes and never, you know, be deserving of the kind of positive response that I get from so many of you guys, but honestly, like, expos like this, it just really reminds me of that. So guys, I don't want to ramble, I just want to say it was great. I loved meeting so many of you, and I hope to meet many of you around the world. Someday I want to do like a whole like tour where I just travel every country, every city. I've always felt that like, if I ever got to a point where I was like decent financially, and like I would never be the kind of guy who's gonna go and like blow money on like stuff that I don't necessarily need. Like, I don't need like a, you know, Ferrari or whatever. I would rather, you know, get myself like a, you know, like a little like a regular car, like get myself like a Toyota, and spend like 300 grand and just travel for like years, visit all these cities, see all these places, meet so many of you guys. I'd love to be like, I'm in this city, you know, let's like just work out together and eat cool food from all these different countries and experience all these cultures, lift around the world. That's my dream. And someday, hopefully I'll be able to do it. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, which I'm filming right now.